Welcome to the Upshot, Ultra-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on Thursday, May 18th. Tomorrow, we get the Beaver State Fling. It is, of course, up in Estacada, Oregon at Milo State Park. It's on the Silver, no, not the Silver Series. It's a DGPT Silver event. And so, you know, a few pros missing, but this is still just it's a classic venue, a classic disc golf feel. I'm excited that we're in Oregon. It's, you know, I'll tell you what, Josh, we complain about the Texas, you know, too many courses in Texas. I do not complain about too many courses in Portland and in Oregon. It is very nice to be able to have these back-to-back events, although I guess not back-to-back this year because we're going to pop up to Washington, but the Pacific Northwest, a nice place to play disc golf.
It is. It's aesthetically pleasing. I mean, the Milo McIver, obviously a well-renowned course on tour and has been for decades, and just one that I, as a spectator, really enjoy watching. And we know that the pros enjoy playing this course as well. And you can definitely see that kind of enthusiasm come through. Even though this is a silver event, it is still expected to be very well attended based on the registration list. And I'm excited to be watching it this year. And every round covered live, fully by the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so you can check out the entire action. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's big news this year, and I don't know how much this is really even out there yet. It's a full new layout. It's kind of a hodgepodge of holes from the Milo East and Milo West. It's called Milo Gold, and we're going to actually do something a little different on today's preview show. We're going to go through every single hole and talk about what it is, where it's from. And I just want to give a shout out to Matt Owens from Oregon. I actually played around with him here in New York City, and he sent in a full breakdown. He played Milo Gold a week or two ago. He sent in a full email with a hole-by-hole breakdown. So we're going to, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to show the whole map. We're going to talk about the holes. And hopefully this is something interesting. You know, I know it's not us out on the course, but let us know what you think of this format. I don't think we'll do this every week for sure, but you know, we've got a whole new looking course here. So how's that sound, Josh?
I think it sounds great. It's a great preview.
All right, well, let's begin with hole number 1. And again, if you're on YouTube, I encourage you to go over there and check it out. It's 455 feet for MPO, 345 feet for FPO with a shorter basket location. This was, and this is coming from Matt, this was originally hole 13 East, and it's pretty much the same hole as before. Matt says it's a good starting hole. The gallery can line the entire right side of the fairway. There's the new FPO basket. And overall, a nice change to the hole to add that extra basket. Any thoughts on this one, Josh?
Only note, I actually think the drainage basin plays an interesting factor on the FPO side. You know, I would, it's hard, just going solely based off the caddy book. I think there are lots of shots that are going to fall that could come just short of that tree. And that drainage basin is going to stretch them out. It is casual relief. It's going to stretch out though. And even if you're within, you know, what looks like circle 2 and kind of in the 50 so range, that's going to stretch you outside of circle 2. I think it's also going to make it more difficult for aggressive jump putts if you do have to take relief out of that drainage basin. So while it is a casual relief area, I think FPO players are actually going to want to keep an eye out for that. And it may be quite detrimental to their chances at a birdie look if they end up and find themselves in that basin. So
on to hole number 2. It's par 5 for both. It plays 1,196 feet for MPO. It's an absolute bear. 805 feet for FPO. You can see the shorter pin location there on the hole graphic. This was originally 14 East. Same par 5 as it's been before. So just going in kind of starting out in consecutive order. 13 East, 14 East, and hole 3, previewing it, it's going to be 15 East. So this is a cool hole, Josh. Just long par 5.
Yeah, you'll see that first tree that's right next to the FPO pad. The men's side, they have to get around that tree in order to have a look and to be able to attack. That's the massive tree that you're going to see on coverage, and really is the defining shot on this hole. Is that, I mean, that is the make or break shot right there if you're going to be able to score, or if you're stuck in par or bogey land pretty quickly.
Hole 3, pretty straight shot up the gut, 400 feet for MPO, par 3, 304 feet for FPO with a shorter tee pad. Again, this is 15 East. It's up on the mound as it always has been, so we know this hole as well.
Yep, straightforward.
On to hole number 4. So hole 4, it plays 381 for MPO, 300 for FPO with a shorter tee pad, and a different basket placement. So a little double combo here. And so there's OB along the right side and deep of the basket just past circle 1. This was originally hole 17 West. It's the same typical straight shot, and Matt says that some branches have come down, making the hole play a little bit easier with less of a low ceiling.
Is this the one that most people throw rollers on?
Well, I don't know.
I think this is the one that a lot of players, it's got that really, low ceiling, tight gap based on Matt's description. And a lot of players, at least on the MPO side, will throw a roller. And then the hope is that it kind of cuts out right at the gap and then ends up, over by the basket.
That's exactly right.
I think that's what this hole is. I really enjoy this hole.
Because you can take the left gap roller too.
Right. About which gap you're going to choose and pick. You'll see some players, and if you are playing for just the air shot, most players are playing to land where the FPO basket is, and then just expecting a circle 2-putt. The roller is really the only way that you're going to approach it. If it's not as low of a ceiling this year, you may see some more air shots that are able to attack the basket a little bit better. But still, I think so many players are so used to playing this with the roller shot, I think we're still going to see a lot of them. I like that a lot.
Hole number 5, it's a par 4, 635 feet. It's the same layout for both divisions. This is the hard-turning right-hand shot. So you got to throw it. You're putting your first shot in a position, and then you got to go up and tight around the corner into the green on your second shot to look for birdie. This was originally 18 West. It's a new par 4 tee, though, so they've moved it back. Low ceiling and a large tree about 60 feet in front of the tee. Players will want to get to the left side of the fairway, and the ideal flight off the tee is a low hyzer, but the ceiling is considerably lower along that right-hand side. So you have to kind of pick and choose, a little bit of risk-reward there. And if you end up stuck on that right side, there's just going to be no way to get up to the basket given where it is.
Yeah, from the looks of it, so depending on how tight this dog leg is, one of the divisions is not going to have a good time on this hole. And I don't like holes that I think are identical, and we'll talk more about this as we keep going. But when I look at this hole, I see, on this initial tee shot, either MPO, it's either going to be incredibly boring. I just don't know what birdie chance looks like. I don't know what birdie chance looks like here, because if it is as low ceiling as they're saying, depending on how tight that corner is, unless you have, and what those trees on the corner look like, I don't know how well MPO are going to be able to attack unless that tee shot they can reach, say near the dog leg on the left side. If the MPO can reach near the dog leg on the left side, then they probably have a pretty easy attack for birdie. But for FPO, it feels like their drive is just going to be kind of right in the middle of the fairway. They're just going to have to lay up, and then they're going to pitch up or take a 90-foot.
Right.
Everyone's going to take a par. Everyone's going to take a par. I'm skeptical about this one, given the both divisions side. I hope it's interesting, but TBD.
Okay, hole number 6, par 3, 450 feet for MPO with the basket on the left-hand side deep of the tree line. And it's 245 feet for FPO with the basket on the right-hand side past a clump of trees. So very different holes for the two divisions. They do play off the same tee pad. This is originally 17 East. It's the same hole as it was before for the men. It's kind of easy to remember this one. You got to go way down straight, and then the basket is tucked off to the left. There's a new FPO green to the short right side, and it's as Matt says, it should be a reasonable birdie for any forehand player or lefty. 245 is very short, and it's just a matter of getting past the trees between you and the basket.
I appreciate short holes like this. I think the FPO division should have them that are just, execute and you get the birdie.
Hole number 7, 630-foot par 4, same tee, same pin for both divisions. It's a straight shot out. You got to get past a couple of trees in the middle of the fairway, and then it's a kind of a tight gap approach into the basket with OB all along the left side. This was originally hole 1 on West. No real changes here. It's pretty much the same hole.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I like this hole a lot for the MPO side. I think it's very interesting and creates a lot of drama. I don't think it's appropriate for the FPO division. I might be wrong about that. I don't know. I would have to go check what scores were. But I think it's going to be too long for the FPO division, and you should have slid the basket up maybe, or, I don't know. I feel like the integrity of this hole and the design of it depends on kind of where it's at in order to kind of maintain that identity. But I'm pretty sure this is a pretty difficult hole for MPO. And so I can't imagine it's going to be attackable at all for the FPO
originally
side.
1 West, 630 foot. Let me just double check something really quick. Yeah, so it was a par 5 for FPO last year.
And what was the scoring like?
2 eagles.
Okay.
They only played 1 round out here. Jen Allen and Ella Hansen got eagle. A good chunk of birdies and a smaller number of pars and worse. So they're basically saying birdie's now going to be very hard. Like, it will be absolutely a bonus birdie hole. Most players will just be looking to take par.
And if it's only Ella Hansen and Jen Allen, it means that nobody's even trying. Like they have the arms. Yeah.
I think we'll see 2 to 4 birdies per round, which, I would rather see them move that tee pad up a little bit and make it just a little bit more attackable. But let's see how it plays out. Okay, on to hole number 8. Hole 8 is a par 4, 630 feet. And if you think I'm repeating myself and I'm still looking at hole 7, I'm not, even though the hole looks almost identical. Like, this is the same shot shape.
Yeah.
It's like a shorter, easier tee shot with a longer, more difficult approach shot, but it's literally the same hole shape. No OB on 8, although there is OB along the left side on 7. But it's kind of an odd combination of holes here. Not because either hole is bad necessarily, just very samey hole types and shots. But hole 8 has a magnificent green. It's the one that's tucked off into the woods. You got to go over the little bridge.
I love this hole.
It's a beautiful hole. So this is originally hole 2 West. So, we've seen these hole plays back to back in the past. And now they're just kind of in the middle of the course instead of starting out on 1 and 2 for West.
And if I remember properly as well, when I think about 1 and 2, 1 is very low ceiling, defined by controlling those angles. Hole 2 is about putting yourself in a position to be able to attack what is a very narrow green. They don't feel similar to me. I know they have the exact same shot shape on the caddy book and distances, but they feel like very distinct holes when I think about them. I'm gonna say it one more time. Last year, this was also a par 4 for the FPO side. There were 2 birdies. And then a whole load of pars and a handful of bogeys. So I think the first 2 holes are just... I guess it's not the first 2.
Now it's hole 7 and 8.
7 and 8 are going to be a par stretch for the FPO side.
On we go to hole 9. It is a 420-foot par 3. Plays the same for both divisions. This was originally hole 5 West. You're going down from the woods into the clump of trees, and it's got a bit of a long walk, says Matt, from old hole 9 West to the next hole. So, of course, this has been all mixed up now, so you're going to have some areas on the course where you walk a little bit more. Fine hole, not necessarily like iconic.
Yeah.
Hole 10. Par 4, 700 feet for the men, 550 for the women with a shorter tee pad. And this one is originally hole 13 West. Pretty much the same hole as it was in the past. The fairway, says Matt, is mowed more than it was before. Usually there is some taller grass to clear for the first 300 feet or so off the tee. Now it is mowed basically the entire fairway. I bet there will be a couple insane long rollers if the wind allows, and it's a long walk out over to the Philo hole, which will be 11. We'll talk about that in a sec.
Okay. I will say I want to give props to the change here by sliding it up. Last year, they did not make that change for the FPO side. They had to play the 700-foot par 4, and there were no birdies. So, I really appreciate that they've put in the FPO pad here.
Good change for sure. Hole 11, but pretty much a straight shot. Roller makes a lot of sense here.
Mm-hmm.
Hole 11, dogleg left, par 4 for the men, par 5 for the women, but same pin location and tee pad, 850 feet. There is OB along the right-hand side, but you'd have to really make a big mistake to find it. This is the Philo hole, same as it always was. It's a long walk here as well, but this is the classic Philobatros. I'm sure we're going to see it a million times this weekend on the coverage, and Philo's on the call this weekend, I'm pretty sure, for MPO. So it should be fun to relive this one.
I think they would have made a big mistake by not including this hole in the tournament. So I'm glad to see it. I think it's an excellent hole, even without the albatross, and it's going to be so much fun to watch. Man, how often do you think they're going to show that clip this weekend?
Pretty much every time we play the hole, right?
Okay. That's generous thinking if they're going to stop at the hole.
It was originally hole 6 west, and now it's, of course, 11. On to hole 12. So this is the original hole 14 west. It's down from the woods to the basket between the trees by the river. The hole is looking better than I've seen it in my 15 years of playing here, says Matt. So bodes well. This is kind of a memorable one with the water behind.
Yeah. It's I love the view of this one. I don't want to. This will be the last time. I promise. It's going to be the last time I bring it up. FPO played this hole as well in same iteration last year, and there were 0 birdies on this hole. Like, I get that it's a classic course, and some of these courses are hard to build around. But again, I mean, there's so many holes so far that I think there have been 5 holes that we grouped together, and I think we're going to see 2 to 4 birdies total for the entire round on the FPO side on those 5 holes.
The good news is they've made some changes, but I think we're going to end up saying the same stuff after the tournament, where it's like they should have looked at the stats and fixed this hole. But I think in some cases it's like maybe you feel constrained to move the tee pad, but then you got to put in a new basket, I think. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, that's the last time I'm going to bring it up in this preview. So
let's move on to hole 13, par 3, 390 feet for the men, 310 for the women with a shorter basket. This one was originally hole 15 west. The Corey Ellis hole, says Matt. We all remember what that means.
No, please I hope there's a new basket in there.
There's got to be a new basket. I think they should leave one basket like that in on tour, and you don't. But they move it every year, so you don't know where it's going to be. You can just.
That's
of course, I'm kidding. New green this year for hole 13. Older players will remember it from years ago. It's on the other side of the guardian tree near the basket on the old green. Players need to stay very straight. Matt says it's going to be a tougher birdie. I bet a lot of players putting from the guardian tree left to the basket, and more players will be turning their drives over trying to keep it straight.
Looks like a fun hole. I'm excited to watch it.
All right, hole 14. It is a 675-foot par 4 for the men, 575-foot with a shorter tee pad for the women. Like a little bit of a... It's like right to left to right. This was originally hole 16 east, same hole as it's been, and Matt says the green is looking pristine.
Ooh, okay. Is this the one that goes up the hill?
Well, I kind of think it looks like that, but I would have to go look back at coverage to see what
I would too.
Original 16 east was.
Yeah, I don't remember. If it's one that kind of goes up the hill, I know there's like 2 or 3 like that. I'm excited because I love those greens.
Hole 15, par 5. It's 760 feet for the men, 670 feet for the women, with the tee pad moved up and a little bit to the left side. This one is kind of like a horseshoe-shaped hole. So you got to go out and then along the tree line and then back into the woods to find the green. This was original hole 1 east. And it sort of combines the old hole 1 and hole 2 east. Big, high, tight turnover to get as right as possible. Ideal drives will be long of the old East 1 and on the left side of the fairway without being in the tree line. The second shot is a hard, almost more than 90-degree turn. Matt says he's envisioning a lot of scrambles from 50 feet from the basket from players who didn't make the corner. This one looks like a beast.
Yeah, it does.
So...
yeah. Looks like a tough MPO hole.
Yeah. I think I didn't... Did I say this? It's a par 5 for the women. 670-foot par 5.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you mentioned that.
So it's shorter and an extra stroke. For the men, it's 760-foot par 4. That's going to be gnarly for the men, for sure.
Yeah, it is.
On to hole 16, it's a 660-foot par 4 for the men, 520 for the women with a shorter tee pad. This one is the original hole 7 East. Same hole as always. Matt said, I heard talks of a new longer green, but it was not in there today, and I did not see any landscaping signs of a new green, so maybe just going to be the OG hole 7 East.
Okay. I like the tight OB on this hole, on the back of the green.
Yeah, you got to go through the trees, and then it's like very tight OB, about 33 feet behind the basket, and kind of like curling along the backside. Hole 17. It is a 980-foot par 4 for the men, par 5 for the women, but same locations. This is combined hole 9 East and hole 10 East. Matt says this is a local secret safari hole. You play from the Genius tee pad up on the hill, down the road to the next basket with the little island green kind of like in the parking lot area.
Yeah.
Matt says really fun hole and will be awesome to watch players bomb down and across the road. I'm skeptical that this hole as a par 4 on the island will lead to more than a handful of birdies. Even bomb drives that would be eagle putts on the Genius hole will still have 400-ish foot turnover flex shots to land on the tiny island. And the further your drive from the tee goes, the further the ground goes below street level. So you're throwing then like back up the hill. Matt says, I envision some players throwing shorter drives to have a vantage point from above street level, but that can leave a shot from 450 feet plus, and you still cannot just throw a flip-up hyzer. This will be a potentially exciting hole down the stretch. I bet the birdie count on this hole would make a great over-under. Ooh. Matt says, I don't want to set anyone up for failure, but if I had to choose an over-under, I'd put one on somewhere around 8.5 birdies on that hole for the weekend. Now, I'm thinking that he means for MPO, so let's go ahead and take Matt's suggestion, Josh. I'll let you have it. 8.5 birdies on this hole for the weekend. For MPO.
If I am remembering what he's calling the Genius hole, that's the long downhill one.
Big monster
right?
tee shot from
huge
up
bomb,
in the trees and like shooting huge downhill shot, yes.
I'm going to take the under. I think there's going to be less. I don't think there are going to be very many pros who are attacking that green.
What I love about it, Josh, is that late, if you need a stroke, like you're like,
you could get
it's tough, but like I'm gonna go for it. Try to get a skip off the road.
Actually,
it's a tiny.
I am
green.
going to take the under. I'm going to take the under. It is. I think that the best chance is that they're going to have players who, once they get in a really good position, if they have a really great drive, they're going to just play up across the road, and then they're going to give lofty bids, and from circle 2 over across the road onto the island. We've seen that a couple of times. It's not a very high make percentage, so I think this is actually a really nice line from Matt. I'm going to take the under, though.
I'm going to say this. This is a high risk, high reward hole concept. This could be awesome, or it could be a total dud if it's just like too hard. I'm looking forward to it. It should play well for FPO as a par 5, I would think.
I think so too.
Okay, and that brings us to our final hole, hole 18. We'll get a little preview, Josh. Of course, we'll score it next week. It's par 4, 690 feet for the men, 535 feet for the FPO field with a shorter basket location, similar shot shape with a little bit of a gentle left to right. This is originally hole 10 East, same hole as always. But Matt is not feeling it, Josh. A great par 4, but frankly, a boring finishing hole. There's the road on the right for the length of your drive, but most players will just throw a wide hyzer right of the tree and will never come close to the road, and there's almost no danger on the second shot. It is a stock 350-foot backhand hyzer, followed by a stock 350-foot forehand hyzer. There's very little real danger. One upside is that the entire length of the fairway will have gallery watching, so it will be visibly pleasing on video. The real champion of this hole is the new short basket for the FPO. It's elevated on a stump green just around the corner, and it's going to be a great hole for the FPO field on another iconic green. But Josh, it feels like 17 is really going to be the hole that kind of decides things down the stretch.
I agree with that. So I'm looking at the FPO side, and this had a pretty decent spread. You said it was hole 10 on East?
It was hole 10 East, yep.
Yeah, so the hole 10 East played a negative 0.24 strokes under par in round 3, and it had a nice spread, 42% birdie, 39% par, 18% bogey. And based on what I'm looking at here from the scores, it looks like that was pretty accurate. 585 feet is where hole 10 was last year. Now, I'm kind of with Matt, though, on the MPO side. I'm pulling up the course stats over here for the MPO. And now it was also 585 feet for the MPO side as well. So, you got to take that into consideration. It is a little bit longer. But last year, round 1, 66% birdie percentage, 28% par percentage.
So they stretched
in round
it out.
3, 72% birdie, 22% par. They stretch it out an extra 100 feet. I hope that makes the difference because based on what it looked like last year, I understand that you can't have probably hole 17 because of the lack of gallery space. But man, hole 17 as a finishing hole, I think would be so much more exciting than what I think is going to be a little bit mundane for 18.
We'll have to see. I mean, racing the basket for FPO, it's a little shorter. As a par 4, 535 feet, I mean, the longer arm should be able to put it right under the basket and not have a question, but we could see some exciting putts. I mean, it's not hard to imagine somebody needs to make a putt from circle's edge on an elevated basket to win the tournament. That could be cool.
Or a chance to make an eagle from circle 2 if you're a big thrower, right? Someone like Ella is a couple strokes back, plays for eagle. I love this for FPO. I think this could be a really excellent FPO hole.
We'll have to see how it plays. So overall, here's the final assessment from Matt. I think it is an awesome layout for these pros, and it will be cool to see them play some of the safari holes us locals have been playing for years. In theory, this should be the best of both worlds, right? We should get some of the best holes from East and from West on one course, and it should be fun. It's not too much of a change when you think about they're not making massive alterations to most of the holes, but there are a couple of these safari holes kind of built in there. Some new challenge. This plays over 11,000 feet for MPO, 11,003. So it's a beast. It's almost 10,000 feet for the women. So it is not going to be. It's not just your typical woods golf. I mean, you have to be able to throw far. Interesting elevation change, and it's just so spectacularly beautiful.
Man, it is.
Can't wait for that. Let's just take a quick look at the forecast for this weekend. I honestly haven't looked it up. Estacada, Oregon. Oh, man. It's going to be awesome. 81 degrees Friday, 78 degrees Saturday, 73 degrees Sunday. Not a lick of precipitation in the forecast, and just a gentle thrower's wind of 5 to 7 miles per hour. Can't ask for better than that, Josh.
Can't ask for better than that.
We're going to make our picks in just a little bit. Right now, we're going to take a break, and we got a fun segment for you coming up. Stay with us.
Pound's the best of the best. It's the quality, the craftsmanship, the vision for what a bag could be. Let's start from the beginning. I didn't choose Pound, I chose Levi. I trusted Levi to make the best bag possible.
He's always trying to innovate. He wants it to be perfect. And I think he's the kind of guy that nothing's ever perfect.
I trust the product. I trust the people behind the product.
At this point, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's the best made bag.
Welcome back to the Upshot. Before we get to this next segment, Josh, a quick little aside from Matt from his email. Josh, one of those yips coming for Calvin, and how could you ever think it was a good bet that Drew Gibson would miscash multiple events in a row? Lol.
Okay, first off on the yips for Calvin, I don't think he didn't show up at Champions Cup, so I feel fine about that one. The Drew Gibson one was a bad bet. It was a bad over-under. I gave that point away for free. But you know what? Drew hadn't played in 3 months. I get the right to harass him a little bit for that. Even if it's at my expense.
All right. Well, thanks again to Matt for the great email and the insight into the course. All right. We're going to do something a little different. Today, we're going to be ranking some players in 3 different categories. The categories are the next major winner at the European Open, coming up here in just a couple months. Player ranking 5 years from now. And then an overall ranking based on the player's peak performance at whatever point they were the best they were in their career. Rank them from that moment. Now, here's the rub. We will each give each other 5 players. They must be ranked. But you do not know who the next player that you will be given is, and you must choose the ranking and put them into your order 1 to 5 as you get them. So if Josh gives me Calvin Heimberg, I have to decide where I want to put him in my list, and that locks it in. I do not get to make any alterations later, and so that is the game.
It's going to be fun. I love these kind of things. I think they're a lot of fun.
Let's get right into it. We're going to alternate doing MPO and FPO. Josh is up first for MPO as the next major winner. Okay, so Josh, you're trying to rank these players in their order of chances to win the European Open. Now, yep. I will tell you, all of these players are currently registered for the European Open. So I'm not giving you random people who are not signed up. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Let us begin, and I will get things started with Simon Lizotte.
What do you mean? Look, I really think that Simon could win, but I'm just so scared to pick him ever for the majors. And even last year, when he was like coming off a really strong stretch, we thought he had a really good chance at European Open, and he played pretty poorly, if I remember right. I mean, I think he was like outside of top 20. It wasn't particularly close. I'll pull this real fast so I can confirm that. But unfortunately, Simon at the majors is just it's just a thing right now. And
he was 16th.
16th. Okay. Not great. I'm going to put Simon in the 3 spot. Start him in the middle.
Safe choice. Next up on the list, James Conrad. You know I was going to put James in this list.
I know you're going to put James. I like James for majors, but I don't think this is the major for James. I think the other ones later in the year set up better. I'm going to give James the 4 spot.
Okay. Next up on the list, Nicholas Antila.
I don't know who's coming down the pike. I'm going to give Nicholas the 2. He has shown us some strong performance at majors. Oh, you're gritting. This is bad.
It's bad.
He's shown a strong performance at majors. And I think there's some advantage to playing in front of the home crowd like that. I'm going to give him the 2, and it sounds like I'm going to regret that.
Okay. So next up is Eagle McMahon, winner of the 2022 European Open.
I'm going to put him in my 1. But I know who's coming next.
It's not who you think.
Okay, who is it?
I am not going to give you Paul Macbeth, as interesting as that might have been, but I wanted to try to pull the wool over your eyes. Instead, Josh, you're going to get Calvin Heimberg.
I don't like Calvin in my 5 either. He definitely is playing better this year. I'm curious. Let's see what Calvin. He did 8th last year.
Josh, even a Calvin hater, can admit that he shouldn't be in the 5 spot in your list.
No, he should not be in the 5 spot in this list. But I will say, Nicholas did take 4th last year. Nicholas played well here. I'm happy with Nicholas in the 2, I think, but I think I would slide Calvin up into my 3. I think I'd go Eagle, Nicholas, Calvin.
Instead, it's Eagle, Nicholas, Simon, James, Calvin for Josh.
Yeah, that Calvin should not be
That's
there.
tough. Okay, so Josh, you've got 5 FPO names for me. Who you starting with?
I do. All right, I'm going to give you Holland Handley up first.
Oh, my God.
Now, assuming they're playing FPO pads, right? It's going to be long course.
You mean
Or MPO
yeah,
pads.
I mean, I don't see,
layout.
I have heard no indication that they're moving away from having all the players play the same exact layout. Okay, Holland Handley. I mean, look, she's going to be in the top half of my list. She has to be, because I think the layout is going to suit her more than many.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a reason we saw Paige and Evelina succeed out here last year. The question is, am I going to get Paige and Evelina and Kristen coming up here? That's the big question mark for me. I'm going to put... Honestly, I'm going to put Holland in my 2.
Okay. I like it. Next up, Ella Hansen.
This ain't right.
You knew those two had to come together.
I don't know if I'm going to get Paige. I got to put Ella in my 3.
Okay.
I mean, it's the exact same.
So,
I feel like both of those, if I don't get Paige, I'm going to be mourning that I didn't get a chance to put those maybe at the top. But that's where I'm going to start right now.
all right.
Obviously has a monstrous distance advantage. It's going to play really well for her. I think she has a great chance to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe more than
Cat
Holland,
Merch.
but I've pinned myself into this spot. Cat Merch. I'm going to put her in my 5. I mean, I honestly think she could play well. It's just, I feel like you're going to try to firebomb me with something here, but she can throw far.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely could succeed. I mean, I think she's a more consistent golfer than Ella and Holland, but I can't put her in the 1. Sorry.
Yeah. Haley King.
I'm going to just hope that I get the player that I want for number 1. There's a few choices I would be fine with. I'm going to put Haley King at the 4.
Okay.
And I feel good about that. I mean, these are a nice selection of players, all very competitive potential players at this tournament.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to do. I really want to just switch and give you like Missy Gannon or Sayananda. I'm not going to. I have it already written down. Henna Blomroos. So Henna is going to be in your 1 spot. All right,
I'll take it. I mean, I would probably put... I don't know. I feel like she and Holland and Ella all have about an equal chance to win. They all have like some deficiencies in slight areas, but like Henna should be able to just shred out there. So I feel good about it. But man, all those are all like very competitive players. And
I tried to pick no one like a clear obvious one, but all with lots of similar parts of their skill sets on this course. So.
And Kat and the 5, like that feels right given that list.
Yeah, I think the only one I would slot higher would be Haley King. Just proven major performance. Her distance is increasing. I don't think she has a clear deficiency in her game like other players on this list.
And she's thrown further. Like,
right.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think you could probably put Haley in the 1.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
It was fun. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going up next with MPO. So Josh, this is for 5 years from now. Rank the players. Maybe you can think about it as like their Pro Tour standings finish, or just like rating their overall seasons in 5 years. That is in 2028.
Yep.
Who you got for me?
All right, number 1 is Anthony Barella.
Duh!
I'm just right off the bat. What are you going to do with him?
Oh, my God, dude.
Blank slate. How much faith do you really have in AB here?
I kind of feel like I know who Anthony Barella is. I mean, it's not like... I'm basically betting on, like, will he solve the, like, putting issues / the mentality issues? And maybe he will, but, like... we've had years of the same kind of thing, although he has been getting better. He's been getting better. He's definitely been getting better. I'm going to put him in my 4 spot. I just feel like there's going to be a number of other players that are given to me that I think are going to be probably higher ceiling than Anthony. Maybe I shouldn't say higher ceiling, but like already more proven winning performance. So that's where I'm going to start with AB in the 4 spot.
Okay. Nicholas Ontala.
Oh boy,
is the next one.
Man, this kid has been really impressive, and I feel like has been showing up at the big tournaments, and starting to look more comfortable being out on tour. I'm going to put Nicholas in my. I'm going to put him in my 3. I'm going to put him in my 3.
Cole Redolin.
This is brutal. I mean, look, it's just like AB, right? I mean,
didn't Cole graduate high school last year?
He's super young, and
he's
so
really
talented. So talented. I think like Anthony Barella like has more raw power, but Cole maybe has like more overall like impressive disc golf shot making ability. Like, well, he'll throw some shot and you're like, oh my God, this kid is out of control good. But he also has just been totally unable to like muster that in the big spots. More so than AB, I would say. I got to put him in my 5. If I get some of the players I think I'm going to get in these next couple, I got to put him in my 5.
Next up is Kyle Klein.
2 spot.
Okay. Number
Don't
1
screw
is
me,
Silas
Josh.
Schultz.
No! That's not right.
We got him.
Oh my God. I should have put Kyle in the 1. Oh no. Look. No one has more swagger than Silas. And
no one does.
You know what? That might be enough to get him to number 1 in 5 years.
I was hoping it was going to play like this so bad. I wanted it.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Yep.
5 years from now, FPO. Number 1 on the list, Aria Castrita.
I am going. Aria showed us some nice things a couple weeks ago, and you know has a proven performance at the I think it's the junior levels, and the AM levels, but I have not seen significant gains, and maybe it's just I haven't seen it as much, and I might be wrong about this. I don't think Aria has the distance that she's going to need, and I don't think she's going to develop it to the point where the FPO game is going to be in 5 years. I'm going to give Aria my 5 spot.
Oh, wow. Tough. Okay, next up, Haley King.
Yeah, see, I think this one's one of the hardest ones. Haley King. My biggest question for Haley King is she playing disc golf in 5 years? Like, how much? We see stretches from Haley like last year where she took a lot of time off. You have players who, think of like Heather Young, for example, right? That just decide that tour life, and I think they're very different players. I think she'll still be there. I'm gonna put Haley in my 2 spot. I think she is one of the most proven young players and is only going to keep getting better. But the inconsistency in the game sometimes and just in the season makes me question putting her in the 1. So I'm gonna give her the 2.
Okay, interesting. That was kind of a roller coaster answer there.
It was.
You're talking about her leaving the tour. I don't see that, by the way. I think Haley King is going to be here for a long time.
I think so too, but you never know. That tour's hard on people.
By the way, can you just give me the ranked? We should be reading the ranked list each time. What was my 5?
Oh yes, sorry. On
just now, 5 years from now. MPO.
Oh, 5 years from now. For MPO, It was Silas Schultz is number 1, Kyle Klein number 2, Nicholas Ontala number 3, Anthony Barella number 4, Cole Redolin number 5.
Silas just needs to be in the 5 spot and not the 1 spot. But otherwise, yeah. Okay. Next up on your list, you have Aria Castrita at the 5, Haley King at the 2. Next up is Ella Hansen.
Ella is a competitor. She does all the hard stuff amazing already, and nobody. I think it was on the stat since 2021. It was like Sarah Hokum, Owen Scoggins, and Ella Hansen have the most podiums without a win. 5 years down the road, how old is Ella? Isn't she 23?
No, she's a little older than that.
24?
I think she's probably like 26. I don't quote me though.
So she's older, but she could easily play into her 30s. I'm gonna put Ella in the 3.
All right.
That was tough. I thought about putting her in my 1.
I can't decide who I should give you next. I'm gonna give you Caroline Henderson. That's the order that I had it in, so I'm sticking to my list. Keeping it fair. Caroline Henderson.
I like Caroline Henderson's upside, but I just don't think and she's got great forehand. I just think I need to see more time of her in the sport, playing on a professional level. I don't know who I'm going to get, but I feel like I don't feel like I could put Caroline ahead of Haley and Ella, so I'm going to put her in my 4 spot.
I'm really curious to see how you feel about the player I'm going to give you and projecting them into 5 years from now. Kristen Tatar.
Crap. I don't feel great about it. I think I might have Kristen like in my 3. I mean, there's no reason Kristen couldn't be a Juliana Korver, right, and still shredding it on the course. But man, Kristen's going to be what, 37,
something like that,
36. I mean, she could still be playing amazing,
mid to late 30s.
You know, mid to late 30s, and you're traveling to a different continent and have a family back home. Like, eventually there's going to reach a point where, like we talked about this, it could be in the near future where some latitude just pays her a lot of money to promote European disc golf. And she prioritizes being able to stay in Europe. That's not unbelievable to me. She still could be great, but I probably wouldn't have put her in my 1 had I known the list in advance.
Final list was Kristen Tatar, Haley King, Ella Hansen, Caroline Henderson, Aria Castrita. Doesn't feel crazy. I mean,
doesn't feel crazy.
Kristen at the 1. I mean, you don't think she's going to be not number 1 on this list next year, right?
Right.
2 years,
but in 5 years,
it's hard. But
I probably would have Kristen my 3.
I
and
think
then I'm
Haley
okay
would be
list.
my 1 if I could just pick out of this list, and Ella my 2.
I think so too.
Okay, we move on to the overall at their peak. So this is like, pick a player from any point in disc golf history, their peak performance level, rank them as if they were going to play a major championship today, and it's the peak version of them. Okay, so this is not a career ranking thing, right? We're not going to try to decide, how many majors they have, kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You ready? You're up first, and
let's say I'm gonna say the major is USDGC. It's a course they all played. It isn't the longest course in the world, but it's also not in the woods.
Sure.
Like, that's our ground.
Here we go. Up first,
okay, let's hear it.
Dave Feldberg.
This is the hardest one. And when we sorted out the divisions and I heard that I had to do MPO on this list, I was so disappointed because I know I'm gonna screw this up. Look, Feldberg's good, and he's won, but when I look at, man, if you give me Silas Schultz on this list, man, I'm going to put Feldberg in my 4. Good player, could win against anybody on the list, but just not who I would pick based on who I think could be coming.
You put him in your 4, you said.
I put him in my 4. Yeah.
He did win the USDGC in 2005, for what it's worth.
Yes. Yeah.
Next up, Nate Doss.
Does Nate Doss have any USDGC wins?
He's
got a couple worlds.
Did Doss win?
I don't know if
USDGC. I feel like I should just know this off the top of my head.
I know.
But I don't. Yes, he won in 2008. He got it once.
So he's got one as well.
And I didn't look at the USD. I was not thinking about USDGC.
Right,
as the hypothetical
you weren't thinking about
here,
USDGC. Yeah.
So yes, he did.
I wasn't either until we started talking. I think it just makes sense. All right. I'm going to put Doss in my 3.
Feldberg in the 4, Doss in the 3.
Doss in the 3.
All right, well, you get a fun one here.
Okay.
Will Schustrick.
Oh, shoot. Oh, man. Oh, I didn't even think about
Shu
Will.
Is
Peak Shu.
He was a bad man out there.
But if the 3 players left are the 3 who I'm afraid they are, I don't know what to do with this. Okay. I'm about to disrespect Will so hard, and not because Will deserves this.
U.S. champion, Josh.
Not because Will deserves this.
He shot a 1061 average in 2012 when he beat Ricky Wysocki by 2 strokes. 1061.
Fine, I'll put him in the 2, but you're going to give me 2 players, and I'm going to be so mad about this.
All right, let's see. Next up, it's too easy, but what are you going to do? I made my list. I must stick with it.
Yeah.
Paul Macbeth.
I'm going to give him my 1.
And I will see if you... I'm curious how you feel about your 5. Nate Sexton.
Okay, you know what? I thought you were about to make me put Ken Climo in the 5, and I was like, that's why I was so like torn up about the Will part, is because I'm like, I'm about to say on air that Climo is going in the 5. Sexton in the 5, like, I honestly don't hate it. Like, I think Sexton is a good player. I don't know how the Doss, Feldberg, Sexton. I think Doss above Feldberg is probably right. I don't know where Sexton should fall in. I bet they probably have historical like performances against each other. I'm not sure exactly how Sexton fits into that trio. But I think my 1-2 is correct, and then I don't hate my 3 through 5. So I'm
honestly, you
pleased with
nailed
this.
it. You absolutely nailed it.
I'm really pleased with this, actually.
It's possible that at USDGC, Schustrick should be number 1.
It is possible.
Peak Schustrick, right? We're not talking about career Schustrick. We're talking about number 1, best of his career Schustrick was insane. He was insane.
He was.
I mean, so I get it. Peak Macbeth.
There's a chance.
Yeah, he's really good. But like at USDGC specifically, I really wonder.
Yeah. I'm very okay with my list, though. I'm so glad you didn't make me put Climo in the 5.
I will say I thought about putting Climo, but I was being true to the exercise here. I had my list and I went with my list.
I appreciate that. All right, so final rankings. Then Paul Macbeth, Will Schustrick, Nate Doss, Dave Feldberg, Nate Sexton.
It's definitely not bad. Good list. All right, FPO for me to close it out. Take it away, Josh.
Here you go. Number 1, Val Jenkins.
Okay, now, but what? Now, real quick question: how are we? Am I supposed to imagine like throw pink as the course here? Because like
I don't know. You could pick a different iconic tournament if you want.
Well, I mean, there's nothing like there hasn't been a consistent women's major course, right?
There hasn't. No.
So I'm just going to have to kind of amalgamate and just assume that, like I can't really think about Val Jenkins playing Rock Hill. I'm sure she's played there, but because she got an invite those years when she, won U.S. Women's. Anyway.
You can think neutral location is fine.
I'm going to think neutral location. I'm going to just imagine a half wooded, half open course that needs distance and accuracy, just to have a baseline. Val Jenkins, man, peak Val Jenkins was very good. I mean, so much depends on the list that I get here. I'm going to put Val Jenkins in the 3 spot.
Okay.
I gotta leave some wiggle room here.
Your next one on the list, Paige Pierce. Peak Paige Pierce.
Number 1. I actually don't think this one's so hard.
I don't think so either.
There's never been a player who could beat Paige at her absolute best. Never. And that includes Kristen Tatar. And I mean that 100%. Kristen Tatar playing her absolute best does not beat Paige playing her absolute best. That's just a fact. I mean, Paige can throw further. Paige can probably putt a little better, but maybe only a little bit better. It would be an incredible battle to watch those two. I want to watch those two play like Eagle and Paul did at last year's European Open at this year's European Open. And I just want to see them
That'd be
just
so cool.
Go absolutely ham. And it's just a 2-woman race. That would be sick. Maybe it could answer this question for us, but I got to go Paige number 1.
I think that's the right pick. I don't think that one, like you said, isn't too interesting, so I intentionally put her a little higher up to just let you have it. Next up, Juliana Korver.
Duh. Oh man, it's here's the challenging thing about Juliana Korver. The field at the time she was playing was so thin that while she's certainly an iconic legend, deserved Hall of Famer, incredible player, I have a hard time seeing that her skill set, which didn't include putting basically ever, would manifest against like the top pros of today at an elite level. Not that it wouldn't be an elite, but I actually think I'm going to take the chance here and put Juliana in my 5 spot.
I think that's probably right.
And I feel like I'm disrespecting somebody who went out and won literally almost every single tournament for an entire year. I think she finished second
That's the
once.
hard part.
And this was 2001, I want to say. Just absolutely obliterated everybody.
Yeah.
But, the other players were talking about, I think JK probably outthrows peak Val Jenkins distance-wise. But she doesn't outthrow Paige. And she doesn't output either of those players. So I'm going 5. I'm taking the chance.
Okay. In your 2 or your next, no, your 2. You have the 2 and the 4 available. Kristen Tatar.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2. I think it's setting up perfectly for me right now. I mean, obviously it all comes down to who I get here, but Kristen is peak Kristen. We've seen it. We just saw it.
Yep.
We just saw it at Champions Cup. We saw peak Kristen, and it was devastatingly dominant. And like I said, I still think I just give the balance of A+ game to Paige Pierce.
Mm-hmm. And that leaves Katrina Allen in your 4 spot.
I feel like shockingly happy with this list. I don't think I would make a change. I don't think I would make a change. You and I think,
did really well in the overall.
Amazing.
I think that went really well.
I would not make a change. I think Katrina in the 4 behind Val Jenkins is correct.
Okay.
And ahead of JK.
This was a lot of fun.
That was great.
This was fun.
All right. So we come back to the modern day, and we must now make our picks for the Beaver State Fling. Of course, a few players not in the field this weekend, so you got to keep that in mind. By the way, Garrett Gerthy and Valerie Mondahano won this tournament last year. So cool to see Double G get that win. Val Mondahano still not in the field this weekend, still not playing. She is registered for the Portland Open, but take it all with a grain of salt right now. We just haven't. She's been registered for a lot of tournaments and has dropped from them. So, we will see what happens this year on the new Milo Gold. Josh, who do you have in MPO?
I was talking about him earlier, but if this course isn't Finnish golf, then I don't know what is. I've got Nicholas Ontala taking down the win.
I don't hate it. I'll tell you that. Last year, what did Nicholas do? Did he play this tournament?
I don't know. I gotta go look.
I'm not sure if he's ever played this tournament.
I think the other thing I'll add real quick is that there is an advantage that when you are a player who has played this tournament, I don't see Nicholas on the list.
He's never played.
So here's the other thing I'll add. Even though a lot of these courses or a lot of these holes are not redesigned holes, there is something about having played this course a million times that lets you understand when it's appropriate to push, when you scale back. The competitive flow of the tournament is something that a lot of these American players have played countless times, and so they understand the way this tournament plays out better. I think that would put Nicholas at a disadvantage if they were playing the normal East-West-East rotation. Given that it is a gold layout, though, even if he doesn't know some of the individual holes as well as the overall like American field, there are enough changes to some holes, and that the flow of the course is going to be very different, that I think means that even though he is not played here before, he is not going to be as nearly the disadvantage that he otherwise would be on this course. So I really like Nicholas for this weekend.
Okay, I'm going out on a little bit of a limb. I'm going to take Cole Redolin. He is from
Did
Oregon.
you just put him in your 5?
I know. Disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
He is from Oregon. He
Yep.
knows this, not this specific layout, but obviously knows the course extremely well, will understand the changes easily. He was 4th here last year. He was only 5 shots off the win. He made some amazing shots here last year. I mean, some of the best shots of the season came from Cole Redolin at Beaver State Fling. Iconic. So I don't see, and look at the players who finish in front of him. Corey Ellis, Joel Freeman, Garrett Gerthy. None of those guys have been there this year. They have not been at the level this year so far. Cole was just in the lead card.
Yep.
I do not see, I mean, it will require him to overcome some of the woes down the stretch that he has had historically. But I could not ask for a better spot for Cole, given that he is in good form right now and that he knows this course and that he's playing with hometown fans. I mean, this is a great opportunity for him.
I think so. That'd be a cool tournament.
Over an FPO, I'm picking the dog.
Let's go.
Owen Scoggins is my pick. Look, Owen has now gotten more podium finishes in the last 2022 and 2023 than even Kristen Tatar. Owen cannot be stopped. And I think this is her chance to finally get a tour win because no Paige, no Kristen. She's the highest rated player in the field, I think. And she was right there last year. She was 3rd place, 1 shot back of Katrina and 5 shots back of Val Mondano. Well, Val Mondano's not playing. And while I certainly think Katrina could win, I feel like it's a coin flip between her and Owen Scoggins. So I'm taking Owen Scoggins. I think this is a huge opportunity for her on a course that is going to suit her well. As she's showed us time and time again, she can neutralize the distance holes with accuracy and playing smart and attacking for birdie when she has the chances.
I had a different pick for my win. And after going through and reviewing the caddy book and doing our whole preview earlier, I have made the swap. I am going to pick Ella Hansen. I think there are, number one, she's from the Pacific Northwest. She plays woods golf.
Yep.
She, I think does really well in this environment. But there,
went to school in Oregon.
Went to school in Oregon. And don't get me wrong. I think that there is a real possibility that Ella sprays just a little too wildly and ends up finishing a ways down, right? Like there's a good chance that she struggles in some of the technicality, and that is a very real possibility to me. She finished in 10th last year. She was 14 strokes off the win. So, bogeys are definitely a possibility for Ella. But looking at this year's course, there are too many holes that are, I think, opportunities for Ella and Ella alone, and or Ella-esque, and just real bonus birdies that she's going to have the opportunity to score on, and then other holes that are going to be much less pressure because she's not throwing full power and is still going to be able to attack. I said on hole 18, Ella in position needing to go for the eagle, she can do it, and I think that's going to be a real advantage. I'm going to give it to Ella this weekend.
All right, those are our picks. Over under. Josh took under 8.5 birdies on hole 17 for MPO at this weekend's Beaver State Fling. Coverage begins tomorrow on the Disc Golf Network, and it will be on the Central Coast YouTube channel. I am very interested to see how many views this Central Coast coverage gets. It just feels right, doesn't it? Central Coast coverage of the Beaver State Fling. Man,
It does.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We need to keep some of these traditions alive. Okay, that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Josh and I will be back with you next week as we make the march eventually towards the Portland Open. We have a brand new tournament coming up next weekend, and we'll talk about it next week right here on the Upshot.